The quilt. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings. This by Lewis Carroll, Through the Looking Glass. Sometime last fall it was mentioned that this coming year, 2003, would be the Scorgie's 25th wedding anniversary. It was suggested that we should do something to recognize that milestone. Some of those who get emotionally involved in quilting, mostly ladies, thought that maybe we could make a quilt for such a special couple on such a special day. As time went on, those quilting diehards got together, got themselves organized, chose a quilt pattern, chose fabrics, matched and coordinated colors. The time had come to buy the yards or meters of fabric and the miles or kilometers of thread required. The project got started in January with frost and snow and winter driving conditions. Each participant was assigned a section of quilt or squares and triangles to cut and arrange and match and sew. Some of this could be done at home by the individual and then brought together at a central home to check and coordinate. Let me tell you that this did not go without a stitch or two. A time to rend and a time to sew. Darlene Kennedy. The location chosen for most of the group effort was the home of David and Darlene Kennedy at 278 Rossmore Road. This worked out great for a number of reasons. One of the sensitive aspects of the location was the fact that it was just up the street a few blocks from the Scorgie's home. It was the route that the pastor used to go to the church, and occasionally Cheryl was seen walking her dog and would chat with David in the driveway. Also, Christina and Maria, their daughters, would walk by from school. The extra cars in or near the Kennedys' driveway could raise some questions, particularly if the car was recognized and seen a number of times. The Kennedy home was a hive of activity, what with a number of sewing machines humming at various speeds and pitches, blended with the ladies talking about quilting, of course. The ladies talking had to be, of necessity, a higher decibel level than the machines in order for them to communicate. Can you imagine a man getting trapped in this situation Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? On good days, David could escape to the driveway, the trailer, or some outside project, but on bad days he was stuck. David was conscripted to make and serve the tea and coffee at lunchtime and mid-afternoon. David wasn't sure if it was appropriate for a man to make tea and coffee for a bunch of ladies, until one day he discovered that it was quite scriptural. There are many pages in the Bible titled Hebrews. Day after day, David delivered in fine form. Week after week, the sewing progressed. Nor wind, nor snow, nor fear of SARS could keep those home who were determined to get those pieces sewn together. After all, a stitch in time saves 9. Winter turned to spring, and on April 1st, April Fool's Day, the quilt was put in the frame, ready for the big job of hand quilting. It was set up in Darlene's family room with a lovely view of the fields and forest and countryside. There you could lift up your eyes onto the hills. Darlene kept a diary, recording some of the things that were done and said during the project. Some entries could certainly keep you in stitches. Ladies love to quilt. Some came 1 day a week, some came 2, some came 3. In fact, one lady came so often that the Kennedys were afraid she might just move in. Some came to quilt, some who couldn't quilt came to cheer them on. Many who couldn't quilt help with the who couldn't help with the quilt contributed financially. A couple of times, one or two stitched in the evening. Once or twice it was suggested that the quilting stop so that the Kennedys could retire. Quilting was completed about the middle of May. Later, a group of ladies sat around at Lila's table for an afternoon and put the binding on the quilt. We know our pastor is prone to count, so we will not be surprised if someday he will tell us exactly how many pieces are in this quilt. There were many pieces of fabric, many spools of thread, and a whole lot of love stitched into this quilt. The ladies experienced many hours of sweet Christian fellowship while making this quilt. May it continue to be a token of our love and our appreciation for your years of faithful service in our midst. Thank you.